Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meet the Education Committee for the European Economic Association. Today, we're excited to have Eileen Tipoe, Career Development Fellow in Economics at Mansfield College, Oxford University, with us. Eileen, thank you for joining us today.
Nice to have you. Yeah, thank you.
Um, First, we'll start briefly with a round of introductions. So, could you please introduce yourself, your teaching areas of interest, what made you want to join the Education Committee, as well as a fun fact about yourself?
Okay, so my teaching areas of interest have been microeconomics and econometrics, particularly at the introductory, so first and second year level. So as to why I wanted to join the education committee, so I have teaching experiences that are from the UK and US, so I'd be excited to learn more about how economics education is being done in Europe and then contribute my experiences as well. As for a fun fact, so if I wasn't an economist, I could have been a ballerina. So I had done ballet quite intensively for around 10 years, but it was quite expensive to do the training. So instead I chose to go to university and study economics.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing this. Now, coming back a bit to the education committee, what do you think the value of the committee is?
So I think the committee would help improve communication between economics educators in Europe. So as I understand, there's a lot of different universities in Europe and different ways that economics are being taught. And I think that there are things that we could learn from each other, and it would be great to get a dialogue going. And I think the committee can help a lot with that. And secondly, I think the committee can improve communication between researchers and students. So, the European Economic Association has lots of researchers and they study lots of interesting things. And I think that some of this cutting edge research can be made accessible for students.
Yes, definitely. And the way you see it, what do you think is the biggest challenge in economics education right now?
So I think making economics sound interesting to a wider demographic. So for example, like lower class individuals or females. So there's been a lot of talk about the gender gap in economics. So, and I think that happens, I think addressing that at the pre-university and introductory undergraduate level would be a challenge. I think a lot of common misconception is that among students is that they think economics is just about finance or supply and demand. And that can deter people when they choose to study economics or they continue to take further economics courses at university. I would say that since I've taken introductory econ as a student, the content of the undergrad courses has definitely improved a lot, but we still need to work on conveying the diversity and the range of topics that economists actually study.
Yes, definitely. And aiming for constant improvement is definitely very important. Now, what do you think the education committee can bring to kind of tackle these challenges?
So with regards to undergraduate instruction, I think we could help by signposting resources and examples of good practice. So there are lots of great initiatives that are out there already. So for example, in the UK, I know about the Economics Network and Core Econ, which I'm part of, but many instructors aren't aware that they exist. So the committee can help raise awareness of these resources. And also things like organizing training and networking opportunities for instructors, especially junior academics. And I suppose the third way we could help is for academics, for the research to reach university and secondary school students. So students might think that academic research would be too complicated for them to understand. But I think that a lot of ongoing research can be communicated in a way that students would find interesting and can be incorporated into undergraduate teaching.
Yes, definitely. And to end on a positive note, our last question is, what is one inspiring aspect you have observed in economics education in the last 5 years?
So I would say that teaching innovations and new initiatives that use technology to enhance the learning experience have been quite inspiring, the way that those things have been developing over the past 5 years. So for example, at Core Econ, just to use that example because I'm the most familiar with it, is just that we have an interactive simulation and it shows that we made in response to COVID-19, and it shows how virus transmissions affect health outcomes and economic inequality. So students can play around with the simulation and see how the outcomes change. So economics is a very dynamic subject. So we have models and there are lots of moving parts and things going on, and showing that to students could get them engaged and really excited about the subject.
Yes, yes, for sure. Well, Eileen, these were all our questions for today. So thank you so much for joining us. And thank you so much for your answers.
Yeah, thank you for having me.